We begin the day with Russia and North Korea moving closer together on the battlefield against Ukraine. Now, North Korean leader Kim Jong Un has called this partnership an invincible alliance. Moscow gets manpower for its war against Ukraine. Pyongyang gets money, military experience, and possibly Russian technology. Now, Ukraine is warning that Pyongyang is preparing to send tens of thousands of soldiers to Russia for a new offensive coming this fall. Is this an alliance of convenience, or is it the beginning of a military partnership that is built to threaten Europe and Asia at the same time? Here's what Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had to say.
Russia wants to receive another 30,000 troops from North Korea. Preparations to receive them have been underway in the Voronezh region since June. North Korea is also preparing to transfer new ballistic missile launchers to Russia. This doesn't only pose a threat to Ukraine. Russia is helping North Korea learn how to wage war, improve its weapons, and gain real combat experience in using them. All of this poses a threat to every country in Asia within range of North Korean missiles.
Well, North Korea's foreign minister was in Moscow last week reaffirming Pyongyang's support for Russia's war in Ukraine. North Korea has emerged as a key backer of Russia's war machine since its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in early 2022. Now, the two countries, they signed a military assistance treaty back in 2024, and analysts estimate that since then, North Korea has sent more than 14,000 troops to help Russia. Of course, that support comes with strings attached. Pyongyang has received financial, military, and technological benefits in return. Well, I'm joined now by Anton Sokolin. He's the data correspondent at Korea Risk Group, and he's author of a new analysis examining what 30,000 North Korean troops could mean for Russia's war against Ukraine. He has worked for Reuters and the Korea Trade Promotion Corporation. Anton, it's good to have you with us. Ukraine, it says that preparations to receive 30,000 North Korean troops have been underway in Russia's Voronezh region since June. I'm wondering, how credible is that intelligence?
Well, currently we don't know much, and frankly speaking, there is not much solid evidence corroborating the claim, but at the same time, we know that the information came directly from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, and given the fact that it comes from the top chief, the chief of the country, we should take it seriously. At the same time, we're still looking out for additional evidence to confirm this, and I'm sure many open source intelligence analysts, including us, Korea Risk Group, are looking out for those factors.
All right, 30,000 soldiers. We know that they require transport, equipment, training, and Russian officers who can work with them. Can Moscow realistically integrate such a large foreign force by this fall?
Well, luckily to us, as this particular side of their cooperation, we have a precedent, which was the Russian operation in the Kursk region in 2024-2025, where a significant number of North Korean soldiers participated in combat. Their numbers were estimated to be between 12 to 16,000 soldiers. And well, we know that from the get-go, they had problems, issues, persistent issues with coordination, interpreting services, with supply chains, with coordinating their offensive operations. All of these were factors that had an impact on their performance. And we know for a fact that these kind of mishaps led to increasing casualties. Western and South Korean intelligence services estimated around 6,000 North Korean casualties, including, of course, killed and wounded. And at the same time, a Korea Risk Group estimated the number of soldiers, North Korean soldiers, that were killed in action at around 2,300.
Well, Anton,
so definitely.
Let me just ask you, based on what you're saying, then, do you expect these additional troops to enter direct combat, considering what's happened in the past?
Right. So they've learned their lesson and they're going to be more cautious about how they're going to use these forces. So there are several possibilities how they can actually make use of these additional contingents. Of course, we can talk about sending them to the direct front lines, but that could jeopardize Russia's ongoing offensive operations. At the same time, um, problems with coordination, they could arise again. Surely they learned their lesson. They're going to invest more resources, but managing 30,000 people is not easy.
Yeah.
At the same time, we can, of course, expect that they would use them in some rare areas for drone operations, for mine clearance, and maybe in additional spots to free up manpower that could be used, Russian soldiers that could be used somewhere else.
And how much then could that strengthen a Russian offensive against Ukraine?
Right. So if you free up certain soldiers from the rare areas, that definitely can help, that definitely can provide a boost. But we're talking about 30,000 soldiers. While it's a big number for coordinating their presence in the border regions, it's not a very significant number. Ukrainian sources and the Ukrainian military frequently updates the Russian the toll numbers, and Russia, according to them, loses around 1,500 soldiers daily. So if you extrapolate 30,000 and do a quick math, that puts the total toll at around 40,000. So this is just a drop in the ocean, frankly speaking.
The earlier North Korean deployment, we understand it was confined mostly to Russia's Kursk region, and it could be presented as defending Russian territory. Would sending these additional troops into occupied Ukraine, would that cross a new threshold, a red line?
Just to make it clear, we have reports that North Korean soldiers had entered the contested areas of Donbas before, particularly engineering units that helped Russia with their missiles. So it wouldn't be the first time that North Koreans turn up there. For the North Korean regime, sending North Korean soldiers into Donbas would represent a significant risk, because it would be hard to present it to the local audience that this is a defensive move. At the same time, the regime is very much aware that, Russia sees Donbas as part of its own territory. It's enshrined in the constitution, and North Korea has backed up that particular move. So if they want, they can spin the narrative, but they also have to weigh other risks, like particularly antagonizing the West, an additional antagonizing round from the West wouldn't really serve the Kim Jong Un regime very well.
Yeah, I mean, and also bringing in these foreign soldiers, I mean, as you correctly say, I mean, it brings with it a lot of risks. It brings the question, why would Vladimir Putin want foreign soldiers in the first place? Is it because they're losing so many soldiers a day? I mean, is this just a question of numbers and of, Russia running short of manpower?
Well, it's definitely is going to be a combination of factors. We have seen Ukrainian long-range strikes on Russian refineries and warehouses, logistical supply chains. All this created very dramatic visual images of those burning facilities. And frankly, many people have found it simply scary in Russia. But also, the regular public is bearing the cost of the conflict by seeing fuel prices going up, transportation prices going up, and of course, businesses counting their losses. So that, combined with the simple scarcity of manpower, may prompt the Russian authorities to bring in additional contingents from abroad.
I'm wondering, too, if we look at it from the North Korean side, what does North Korean leader Kim Jong Un, what does he gain by exposing tens of thousands of his soldiers to this war?
So there is tangible and intangible gains. And of course, when we're talking about technologies, that is something that the North Korean regime has been getting from Russia. We know for a fact that there were transfers of air defense systems, the Panzer system, for example. Of course, at the same time, the North Korean regime places its bet on its soldiers to learn modern warfare techniques, right? To see their soldiers operate modern and sophisticated weaponry, mobile drones, all kinds of new techniques that have become so commonplace on the Ukrainian battlefield right now, that the North Korean soldiers are simply not familiar with. And of course, bringing this back home and passing it down the generations and teaching new soldiers, new recruits how to work with this kind of weaponry would give a significant boost to the North Korean army.
Yeah, and what happens when North Korean troops take their battlefield experience home? I mean, how could that change the military threat facing South Korea, Japan, and the United States?
Of course, well, this is the main concern, because we're seeing that they're definitely learning their lessons from the Ukrainian conflict simply by well, one example would be the miniaturization of unmanned aerial vehicles, right? North Korea has practically shifted towards using smaller drones to train operators, to produce. And of course, Russia's help is crucial there. We have seen reports from Ukraine that Russia is helping the North Koreans establish drone production facilities in the country. And imagine all of this on a bigger scale, being used by the North Korean regime. Of course, it's a point of concern for for South Korea and for its allies, including the U.S.
Quickly, before we run out of time, do you think this arrangement between Russia and North Korea, is this temporary, or is this something that is it's designed to be permanent?
Well, we are seeing, of course, factors that point in the direction of this relationship being a more lasting, including, for example, their emerging economic links, their trade ties, and of course, the integration or the closer coordination between their militaries also lays additional foundation for their sustained partnership. But of course, we will have to see how this alliance fares in the upcoming years to make a more definitive assessment.
Anton Sokolin with Korea Risk Group. Anton, we appreciate you taking the time to talk with us and sharing your reporting. I know it's late where you are, so we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.